I'm Mrs. Young, and welcome to the All-School Poetry Out Loud competition. It's that glorious day of the school year that we didn't get to have last year, but we're back at it this year, where we maybe sit a little bit higher in our seats. Maybe we lean a little bit more forward because we get to indulge in listening to poetry. With listening in mind, everybody double check that your phones have been muted, and that goes for all of our students in their advisories right now too. We're hoping that you all are wonderful audience members today. These past 2 weeks, the upper schoolers have performed from memory, every single one of them, a poem that they selected on their own from the Poetry Out Loud anthology, attempting to speak the words of Whitman or Dickinson or McKay as if they were the intended spokesperson. Today's performers all won their classroom recitations. You guys are already winners. Congratulations. At today's competition, we will determine the top 3 performers. The school winners will advance to the regional competition. One winner from our region will move on to the state competition. One state winner will move on to the national competition. And one national winner will win $20,000. And so poetry pays, people. I don't know if you realize that. I didn't, but here it is. We're delighted to have 3 extraordinary judges with us today to evaluate our performers on the following categories: physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, and evidence of understanding. First, I'd like to welcome fiction writer and teaching artist Charlie Bach. Her writing has been awarded fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts, and her artwork has received awards from the Mid-Atlantic National Endowment for the Arts and the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts. The first poem Charlie ever memorized was Lewis Carroll's playful Jabberwocky, and she's been having fun with poetry ever since. She reads poetry every day for its surprise, for the way it makes rules and then immediately breaks rules. Charlie equates a poem to an invitation, and whenever possible, she says yes. Next, I'd like to welcome back our beloved former Gregory School English teacher, Cheryl Pickerel, who also happened to be my first friend on this campus 20 years ago. Ms. Pickerel spent 2 decades teaching English at our middle school. She is more moved in her deep heart's core by poetry than by other gatherings of words. She thinks poetry condenses experience, story, moments, truth, and beauty with images that are so fresh that they startle and they stick. And finally, a heartfelt welcome back to 2005 alumnus Arya Shocky. Arya received his BFA in acting from Carnegie Mellon University, where he formed the critically acclaimed Pigpen Theater Company, a collection of astonishingly talented storytellers and musicians, whom the New Yorker referred to as child geniuses at play. Arya writes books and plays and songs. He defines poetry as that rare moment when someone else feels the way you feel. It's an honor to have you 3 here today. In addition to our guest judges, Mr. Milner will be today's prompter, and Ms. Kane will be today's accuracy judge. Thank you, English teachers, for teaching poetry this past month. And thank you, students, for learning poetry this past month. Here's how today's program will work. Our performers have been organized alphabetically. We have 12 of you today, and each will recite 2 poems. The competition will consist of 2 rounds. There will be a 5-minute pause between both rounds for our judges to collect their thoughts, for those students in classrooms to stretch their legs, get a glass of water, and for you all to also get up and move. And then we'll have our second round and our second series of poetry performances. Feel free to applaud during these intervals in between performances. We know that your applause cannot be heard by our performers today since this performance is being live streamed to classrooms all over campus, but applaud anyway. And don't forget to praise your performing peers during the lunch hour following this event. It takes enormous courage to do what you all are doing today, and we simply get to receive the gift of beautiful words. And so thank you for the gift. One of our Contestants will also receive a People's Choice Award at the end of the competition. And so what that means is all audience members will be sent a survey to be able to vote on their favorite performance. And so be on the lookout to your school email following today's performance for that survey. We will announce the official school winners who will move on to the regional competition by the end of school today. Again, check your email for that. You're all in for a treat. Let's begin.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Castillo, and I'll be reciting Being by Tanya Wilder. Wake up, greet the sun, and pray. Burn cedar, sweet grass, sage. Sacred herbs to honor the lives we've been given. For we've been gifted these ways since the beginning of time. Remember, when you enter the arena of your life, think about those who stand beside you, next to you, with you. Your ancestors will always be in your corner, along with your people. When we enter this world, we are born hungry. Our spirits long for us to live our traditions that have been passed down for generations. Prayer, ceremony, dance, language, our ways of being. Never forget you were put on this earth for a reason. Honor your ancestors. Be a good relative.
Hello, my name is Giuseppe de Montfort, and I'll be reciting Sweet Tooth by Russell Edson. A little girl, made of sugar and spice and everything nice, was eaten by someone with a sweet tooth the size of an elephant's tusk. Ah, he said, this darn tooth, it's driving me nuts. Then another voice is heard. It's the little girl's father who says, have you seen a little girl made of sugar and spice and everything nice? Incidentally, what's that thing sticking out of her mouth like an elephant's tusk? My sweet tooth. And it's really driving me nuts. I'll see a dentist. But he might want to pull it. And I don't like people pulling at me. If they want to pull, they should pull on their own pullables. But so true, said the little girl's father. People should pull on their own pullables and let other people's pullables alone. So true, said the little girl's father. Sorry. But still, he asked again, I wonder if you've seen a little girl made of sugar and spice and everything nice.
Hi, my name is Milka, and I'll be reciting Respectability by Tina Boyer Brown. We ask our children to act calm, nervous, whatever innocent looks like when some cop shows his badge, pulls his gun, slows his car. We beg kids to say soft yes sirs. We beg kids to get on the hood of that car, empty their pockets, shut up, put your hands behind your head. No is an existential threat. 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 Never 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 is an existential threat. We dare ask for humility in the face of this oppression. We have no idea what the threat feels like, but we know Brianna, Rakaya, Sandra, Nia, Betty, Yvette, Mariam, Charisse, Ahmad, Trayvon, Eric, Laquan, Michael, Philando, Stephen, Alton, Amado, Akai, Quintonio, Ramai, John, Jordan, Jonathan, Ronaldo, Kendrick, Ramarley, Kenneth, Robert, Walter, Terrence, Freddie, Samuel, George, Tamir, and more and more and more. There's no open risk declaring our innocence that will confer peace where innocence need. Our children stand in front of doors, pages, words in the streets. They shut down, they shut down, they shut down the forces that burn against them.
Hi, I'm Madison, and I will be reciting On the Existence of the Soul by Patty and Rogers. How confident I am. It is there. Don't I bring it, as if it were enclosed in a fine leather case, to particular places solely for its own sake? Haven't I set it down before the variegated canyon and the undeviating bald salt dome? Don't I feed it on ivory calcium and ruffled shell bellies, shore boulders, on the site of perpetual motionless over the sea, its splayed feet hanging? Don't I make sure it apprehends the invisibly fine spray more than once? I have seen that it takes in every detail I can manage concerning the garden wall and its borders. I have listed for it the comings and goings of 100 species of insect explicitly described. I have named the chartreuse stripe and the fimbriated antenna, the bulb thorax and the multiple eye. I have sketched the brilliant wings of the trumpet vine and invented new vocabularies describing the interchanges between rocks and their crevices, between the holly lip and its concept of itself. And if not for its sake, why would I go out into the night alone and stare deliberately, straight up, into 15 billion years ago and more? I have cherished it. I have named it. By my own solicitations, I have proof of its presence.
Hello, my name is Ashton Lee, and I will be reciting The Gift by Lee Young Lee. To pull the metal splinter from my palm, my father recited a story in a low voice. I watched his lovely face and not the blade. Before the story ended, he removed the iron sliver I thought I'd die from. I can't remember the tale, but hear his voice still, a well of dark water, a prayer. And I recall his hands, 2 measures of tenderness he laid against my face, the flames of discipline he raised above my head. Had you entered that afternoon, you would have thought you saw a man planting something in a boy's palm, a silver tear, a tiny flame. Had you followed that boy, you would have arrived here, where I bend over my wife's right hand. Look how I shave her thumbnail down, so carefully she feels no pain. Watch as I lift the splinter out. I was 7 when my father, took my hand like this. And I did not hold that shard between my fingers and think, metal that will bury me. Christen it little assassin, or going deep from my heart. And I did not lift up my wound and cry, death visited here. I did what a child does when he's given something to keep. I kissed my father.
My name is Mackenzie McCormick, and today I will be reciting Meeting at an Airport by Taham Ahmed Ali. You asked me once, on our way back from the mid-morning trip to the spring, what do you hate and who do you love? And I answered, from behind the eyelashes of my surprise, my blood rushing, like the shadow cast by a cloud of starlings. I hate departure. I love the spring and the path to the spring, and I worship the middle hours of morning. And you laughed, and the almond trees blossomed, and the thicket grew loud with nightingales. A question, now 4 decades old. I salute that question's answer. And an answer, as old as your departure. I salute that answer's question. And today, it's preposterous. Here we are at a friendly airport, by the slimmest of chances, and we meet. Ah, Lord, we meet. And here you are, asking again. It's absolutely preposterous. I recognized you, but you didn't recognize me. Is it you? But you wouldn't believe it. And suddenly, you burst out and asked, if you're really you, what do you hate? And who do you love? And I answered, my blood fleeing the hall, rushing in me, like the shadow cast by a cloud of starlings. I hate departure, and I love the spring, and the path to the spring, and I worship the middle hours of morning. And you wept, and flowers bowed their heads, and doves in the silk of their sorrow stumbled.
My name is Ramis, and I will be reciting Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal, these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
My name is Axel Schultz, and I will be reciting Big City Speech by W.S.D. Piero. Use me, abuse me, turn wheels of fire on manhole hotheads. Sing me, sour me, secrete dark matter's sheen on our smarting skin. Rise and shine in puddle shallows, under every Meryl, Cheryl, Caleb, Sid, somnambulists, and sleepyheads. Wake us, speak to us, bless what you've nurtured in your pits. The rats, voles, roaches, and all outlivers of your obscene ethic and politics. Crawl on us, fall on us, you, elevations that break and vein down to sulfuric fiber optic wrecks through drill bit dirt to bedrock. Beat our brows, flee our sorrows, sleep tight with your ultraviolets, righteous mica and drainage seeps. Your gorgeous colored chart container ships and cab top numbers squinting in the mist.
Nowhere else to go. Oh, my name is Sabrina Schulich, and I'll be reciting Nowhere Else to Go by Linda Sue Park. Turn off the lights. Wear another layer. Sounds like a dad. Sounds like a mom. You say hand-me-down. I say retro. Walk, bike, walk some more, recycle. See what I did there? Bike, recycle. Your name in Sharpie on a good water bottle, backpack, new habits. No thanks, don't need a bag. What else? Oh yeah, tell 10 friends who can tell 10 friends who can tell 10 friends make enough noise. Maybe the grown-ups will finally hear the scream in the title.
My name is Ella Sturdivant, and I will be reciting About Standing in Kinship by Kimberly Blazer. We all have the same little bones in our foot, 26, with funny names like navicular. Together they build something strong, our foot arch a pyramid holding us up. The bones don't get cast when they break, we tape them, one phalange to its neighbor for support. Other things like sorrow work that way too. Find healing in the leaning, the closeness. Our feet have 1/4 of all the bones in our body. Maybe we should give more honor to feet and to all those tiny but blessed cogs in the world. Communities, the forgotten architecture of friendship.
is Hugo Sira, and I will be reciting 1969 by Alex Dimitrov. The summer everyone left for the moon, even those yet to be born, and the dead, who can't vacation here but met us all there by the veil between worlds. The #1 song in America was In the Year 2525. Because who has ever lived in the present when there's so much of the future to continue without us? How the best lover will need to forgive you and surely take everything off your hands without having to ask, without knowing your name. No matter the number of times you married or didn't, your favorite midnight movie, the cigarettes you couldn't give up, wanting to kiss other people you shouldn't, but to forever be kissed by the earth, in the earth, with the earth. When we all briefly left it, to look back on each other from above, shocked by how bright even our pain is, running wildly beside us like an underground river. And whatever language is good for, sign, a message left up there that reads, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969. We came in peace for all of mankind, then returned to continue the war."
Hello, my name is Leslie Twist, and I will be performing Napalm by Quan Berry. I have come to realize that the body is its own pyre, that degree rises from within, the fatty acids a kind of kindling. Like a scientist in a lab, this much I have established. Blood gelled like gasoline, the years spread before me like a map pinned with targets where I'm raging even now. It works both ways. Clear the forests to see your enemies, and your enemies see you clearly. Like all effective incendiaries, I will only bloom where I'm planted.
I have no idea how you're going to do what you need to do. Fantastic, gorgeous first round. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll settle back in. Okay. We will give all of our peers a moment to settle back into their seats and their advisories. And we are to begin round 2.
Mi Casa by Luis Daniel Sagalo. When I was a boy, I was either a child eating bugs or a child being eaten by bugs. But now that I'm older, am I a man who devours the world? Or am I a man being devoured by the world? Someone once told me that mothers come from a different planet. And if she was correct, then my mother was a warrior from that planet. And now that my mother is older, the history that is her face is starting to look like a war map. The hills that were once her cheeks now have roads carved into them that tell her secrets. The roots of her hair are starting to shimmer with silver that she colors when she sees 10 or more. She no longer cares for long hair. She says pelo largo is a young woman's game. In a few years, she'll be older than my grandmother ever was.
Violins by Rowan Ricardo Phillips. He never saw a violin, but he saw a lifetime of violence. This is not to presume that if he had simply seen a violin, he would have seen less violence, or that living among violins as though they were boulangeries or toppling stacks of other glazed goods, like young adult fiction, would have made the violence less crack and more cocaine, less of course and more why, Cotto, why. More of one thing doesn't rhyme with one thing. A soul of stars doesn't rhyme with star. A posse of poets doesn't rhyme with poet. We are all in prison. This is the brutal lesson of the 21st century, swilled like a sour stone to the vein of the beast who watches you while you eat. Our eternal host, the Chung Fiddler, the Better Tomorrow, 2016.
The Song of the Feet by Nikki Giovanni. It is appropriate that I sing the song of the feet. The weight of the body and what the body chooses to bear fall on me. I trampled the American wilderness, forged frontier trails, outran the mob in Tulsa, got caught in Philadelphia, and am still unreparated. I soldiered on in Korea, jungled through Vietnam, sweated out Desert Storm, caved my way through Afghanistan, tunneled the World Trade Center, and on the worst day of my life, walked behind JFK, shouldered MLK, stood embracing Sister Betty. I wiggle my toes in the sands of time, trusting the touch that controls my motion, basking in the warmth of the embrace. Days end offers in warm, salty water. It is appropriate I sing the praise of the feet. I am a black woman.
And a Soul by Evan Boland. My mother died one summer, the wettest in the records of the state. Crops rotted in the west, check tablecloths dissolved in back gardens, empty deck chairs collected rain. As I took my way to her, through traffic, through lilacs dripping blackly behind houses and on curbsides, to pay her the last tribute of a daughter, I thought of something I remembered I heard once, that the body is, or is said to be, almost all water, and as I turn southward, that ours is a city of it, one in which every single day the elements begin a journey towards each other that will never, given our weather, fail. The ocean visible and the edges cut by it, cloud color reaching into air, the Liffey storing one and summoning the other, salt greeting the lack of it at the north wall. And as if that wasn't enough, all of it ending up almost every evening inside our speech. Coast, canal, ocean, river, stream, and now, mother. And I drove on. And although the mind is unreliable in grief, at the next cloudburst, it almost seemed they could be shades of each other, the way the body is of every one of them. And now, they were on the move again. Fog into mist, mist into sea spray, and both into the oily glaze that lay on the railings of the house she was dying in, as I went inside.
Meditation at Lagunitas by Robert Haas. All the new thinking is about loss. In this, it resembles all the old thinking. The idea, for example, that each particular erases the luminous clarity of a general idea. That the clown-faced woodpecker probing the dead sculpted trunk of that black birch is, by his presence, some tragic falling off from a first world of undivided light. Or the other notion, that because there is in this world no one thing to which the bramble of blackberry corresponds, a word is elegy to what it signifies. We talked about it late last night, and in the voice of my friend, there was a thin wire of grief, a tone almost querulous. After a while, I understood that talking this way, everything dissolves. Justice, pine, hair, woman, you and I. There was a woman I made love to, and I remember how, holding her small shoulders in my hands sometimes, I felt a violent wonder at her presence, like a thirst for salt, for my childhood river with its island willows, silly music from the pleasure boat, muddy places where we caught the little orange silverfish called pumpkin seed. It hardly had to do with her. Longing, we say, because desire is full of endless distances. I must have been the same to her. But I remember so much. The way her hands dismantled bread, the thing her father said that hurt her, what she dreamed. There are moments when the body is as numinous as words, days that are the good flesh continuing. Such tenderness, those afternoons and evenings, saying blackberry, blackberry, blackberry.
Famous by Naomi Shihab. The river is famous to the fish. The loud voice is famous to silence, which knew it would inherit the earth before anybody said so. The cat sleeping on the fence is famous to the birds, watching him from the birdhouse. The tear is famous, briefly, to the cheek. The idea you carry close to your bosom is famous to your bosom. The boot is famous to the earth, more famous than the dress shoe, which is famous only to floors. The bent photograph is famous to the one who carries it, and not at all famous to the one who is pictured. I want to be famous to shuffling men who smile while crossing streets, sticky children in grocery lines, famous as the one who smiled back. I want to be famous in a way a pulley is famous, or a buttonhole. Not because it did anything spectacular, but because it never forgot what it could do.
It Was Not Death, For I Stood Up, by Emily Dickinson. It was not death, for I stood up, and all the dead lie down. It was not night, for all the bells put out their tongues for noon. It was not frost, for on my flesh I felt sirocco's crawl. No fire, for just my marble feet could keep a chancel cool. And yet, it tasted like them all. The figures I have seen, set orderly for burial, reminded me of mine, as if my life were shaven and fitted to a frame and could not breathe without a key, and 'twas like midnight sun, when everything that ticks has stopped, and space stares all around, or grisly frosts, forgotten morns repeal the beating ground. But most, like chaos, stopless, cool, without a chance or spar, or even a report of land to justify despair.
Cartoon Physics, Part 1, by Nick Flynn. Children under, say, 10, shouldn't know that the universe is ever expanding, inexorably pushing into the vacuum, galaxies swallowed by whole galaxies, all of it acted out in silence. At 10, we are still learning the rules of cartoon animation, that if a man draws a door on a rock, only he can pass through it. Anyone else who tries will crash into the rock. 10-year-olds should stick with burning houses, car wrecks, ships going down, earthbound, tangible disasters, arenas where they can be heroes. You can run back into a burning house. Sinking ships have lifeboats. The trucks will come with their ladders. If you jump, you will be saved. A child places her hand on the roof of a school bus and drives across a city of sand. She knows the exact spot it will skid, at which point the bridge will give. Who will swim to safety, and who will be pulled under by sharks. She will learn that if a man runs off the edge of a cliff, he will not fall until he notices his mistake.
Enemies by Wendell If you are not to become a monster, you must care what they think. If you care what they think,
how will you not hate them? And so become a monster of the opposite kind? From where, then, is love to come? Love for your enemy. That is the way of liberty. From forgiveness. Forgiven, they go free of you, and you of them. They are to you as sunlight on a green branch. You must not think of them again except as monsters, like yourself, pitiable because unforgiving.
The Mower by Philip Larkin. The mower stalled twice. Kneeling, I found a hedgehog jammed up against the blades, killed. It had been in the long grass. I had seen it before and even fed it once. Now I had mauled its unobtrusive world unmendably. Burial was no help. Next morning, I got up, and it did not. The first day after a death, the new absence is always the same. We should be careful of each other. We should be kind while there is still time.
Emily Dickinson at the Poetry Slam by Dan Vera. I would tell you why she rarely ventured from her house. It happened like this. One day, she took the train to Boston, made her way to the darkened room, wrote her name down in cursive script, and waited her turn. When they read her name aloud, she made her way to the stage, straightening the papers in her hands, pages and envelopes, the backs of grocery bills. She closed her eyes for a minute, took a breath, and began. From her mouth, perfect words exploded, intact formulas of light and darkness. She dared to rhyme with words like cochineal and describe the skies with diadem. Obscurely worded incantations filled the room with an alchemy that made the very molecules quake. The solitary words she handled in her upstairs room with keen precision came rumbling out to make the electric lights flicker. 40 members of the audience were treated for hypertension. 20-year-old dark-haired beauties found that their heads had turned to Moses white. Her second poem erased the memory of every cell phone in the nightclub. And by the fourth line of the sixth verse, the grandmother in the upstairs apartment had been cured of her rheumatism. The papers reported the power outages, the area hospitals taxed their emergency generators, and sirens were heard to wail through the night. Quietly, she made her way to the exit, walked to the terminal, and rode back to Amherst. She never left her room again, and never read such syllables aloud.
Samuel Taylor Coleridge's Kubla Khan, or a vision in a dream, a fragment. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alph the sacred river ran through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. So twice 5 miles of fertile ground, with walls and towers were girdled round, and gardens bright with sinuous rills, where blossomed many an incense-bearing tree. And there were forests ancient as the hills, enfolding sunny spots of greenery. But oh, that deep romantic chasm which slanted down the green hill athwart a cedarn cover. A savage place, as holy, as enchanted, as air beneath a waning moon was haunted by woman wailing for her demon lover. And from this chasm, with ceaseless turmoil seething, as if this earth in fast thick pants were breathing, a mighty fountain momently was forced, amid whose swift, half-intermitted bursts, huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail, or chaffy grain beneath the thresher's flail. Amid these dancing rocks at once and ever, it flung up momentarily the sacred river. 5 miles meandering with a mazy motion, through wood and dale the sacred river ran, and reached the caverns measureless to man, and sank in tumult to a lifeless ocean. And mid this tumult, Kubla heard from afar ancestral voices prophesizing war. The shadow of the dome floated midway on the waves, where was heard the mingled measure from the fountains and the caves. It was a miracle of rare device, a sunny pleasure dome on caves of ice. A damsel with a dulcimer, and a vision once I saw. It was an Abyssinian maid, and on her dulcimer she played, singing of Mount Abera. Could I revive within me such a symphony and song? 'Twould such a deep delight could win me, that with music loud and long, I would build that dome in air, that sunny dome, those caves of ice, and all who heard should see them there, and all should cry, beware, beware, his flashing eyes, his floating hair. Weave a circle round him thrice, and close your eyes with holy dread, for he on honeydew hath fed, and drunk the milk of paradise.
Oh, you brilliant dozen. I got chills again and again and again. What a treat that was. You celebrated words and you made me love them more than I already do. Thank you so, so much. Those who are still in the audience and still with us, give me 5 minutes to send out the survey so that everybody can vote for their favorite performance. And we are going to have all of our participants up on stage for a brief moment so we can take a picture. Judges, if you would also join us up on stage for a moment for a picture. And then everybody will clear house so that our judges can deliberate. Wonderful job today.